Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. And it's not one, but two pieces of big news that we're going to be talking about today with Brent Suen, President, Executive Chairman of Logiq Inc., trades in Canada, or LGIQ, for our friends in the US, LGIQ as well. So both same symbol, both sides. If you don't know the story, but you saw the headline number and the preliminary revenue and wondering, who are these guys? Here's what you need to know. What I love about Logiq is that they are the Agoracom of the e-commerce world, because they, just like Agoracom helps small mid-cap companies win the attention of investors, right? Logiq helps small, medium business compete against mega brands in e-commerce. And that's critical because on the good side, the global e-commerce market is probably close to $10 trillion right now, depending on what happened in 2021. It's too early. But mega brands control, as you can imagine, almost 70% of the US market alone, making it harder for small and medium business to compete. Logiq, more than just lip service, they're an award-winning e-commerce and fintech company. They're addressing that problem by helping drive e-commerce for small and medium business around the world. And last full year, they finished off about $38 million in revenue from two divisions, one of which is being spun out into its own company. And that's one of the two big pieces of news we're here to talk about today. Brent, Happy New Year, my friend. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks a lot, George. Pleasure to be back.
So many good things going on. I mentioned about the spin out now, becoming official. But before that, you just announced these fantastic preliminary Q4 numbers. You're expecting, and by the way, Brent, when companies put up preliminary numbers, there's a reason for that. They want the market to know before the audit numbers come out, because obviously it's a great sign. So you're expecting record revenue just over 12 mil, which is up 87% from Q4 last time. But the gross margin number is the one I love now. You're over 34%, whereas a year ago, you're at 21%. How happy are you guys with these results for shareholders?
Thrilled. The team that runs sales and marketing, back in November, we were pretty excited. So we pre-announced then that we were looking at in excess of 10 million for the quarter. We ended up coming in at 12.3. So it was a record quarter, the highest in our history. And more importantly, the gross margin improvement was there as well. I mean, we've been talking about it every quarter, George. We've delivered on it every quarter. What we're going to start talking about now that we fully believe will come to fruition is what this year will look like. And we've stated that we believe we'll come in at around 48 million. I think it's going to be higher than that, because we've also indicated that we're underway on some M&A initiatives of some accretive companies.
But even at 48, that's a fantastic number. That's just
it is. And I think that's testament to the fact that our business is doing extremely well. And bear in mind, that is the full year number without the spinoff numbers. So I think that in itself is fairly impressive.
What's also impressive is 87% growth in Q4 revenue into higher margins. A lot of companies can't combine both. So, George Com Technology wants to grow. We drop our prices, we grow our top line. We try and impress everybody with a little bit of smoke and mirrors, but then people don't realize, hey, George Com dropped its gross margin down to 11%. So they're basically buying that revenue growth. You grew both top line and gross margin. How important is it for you to now be well over, you're now in the mid 30s in terms of gross margin for valuation purposes? Because I know in the past, you said that was one thing you want to do is really improve that gross margin. How important is it now to be at that number, and where do you think you guys can go?
It's extremely important. That number will not slow down. And the reason why is because part of the improvement has obviously been shifting away from low margin business. But the real story is that the acquisition we made last year in March of Rebel AI, and then the previous year of Fixel AI back in October of 2020, those two businesses can carry gross margins as high as 80%. And so those are starting to gain traction as well. I think we'll really see that kick in probably about Q3, Q4 of this year. And when you see that happening, then our entire gross margin profile really starts to look good. It is not out of the question or aspirational, shall I say, to say that we could be up in the 50s or 60s in a year's time, because companies in our space that are much larger and have been huge winners, like the Trade Desk or Splunk or Datadog, those trade at high multiples for a reason, because they've got big margins. So we are clearly on that path, and it is of paramount importance to us to get there. And we've been doing that.
Where did most of your growth come from? Both, so we know where a lot of the margin growth came from, a lot of the revenue growth, because you've got two divisions. That can be a good segue here. You've got AppLogiq. That's the one that really focuses on mobile applications platform in Southeast Asia. That's and right. DataLogiq, more end-to-end e-commerce marketing solutions. Was it evenly split? Where did you guys see most of that growth coming from?
Most of the growth came from the DataLogiq division, which is what will stay in Logiq Inc. We did see very nice growth on the AppLogiq side as well, which shareholders as of December 30th are entitled to. Now, it didn't necessarily end there, because we still have ownership of assets within Logiq that will also be transferred over to the new company after the audit of those
annual numbers
businesses is complete, which should be February. So shareholders coming in now will still have a participation. And I think it's going to be quite meaningful overall. Plus, when the stock starts to trade, it will benefit current shareholders, yes, but we also view it as a ground floor opportunity for any new shareholders coming in to obviously buy both.
All right, so let's talk about that. You've announced just before Christmas, you announced the agreement's been finalized to transfer AppLogiq into a new publicly traded subsidiary. Before we even get into the details about that, let's recap quickly why you guys think that was strategically so important in terms of unlocking value. Because AppLogiq, I'm going to give a quick summary for people who don't know, I kind of mentioned before, they're a mobile application development platform that really specializes in Southeast Asia. And why they're doing so well is because a lot of business that part of the world is not on laptops and computers, right? It's on phones. So the faster you can help George, a retailer of Greek food in Southeast Asia, build this mobile app so he can start selling and marketing, you're going to get a lot of customers. That's what AppLogiq is. What's the strategic reason for moving AppLogiq into its own standalone company?
There are a few. I think most importantly for investors who are watching the program here is to look at how many emerging markets stocks there are that trade in North America. What you will see is, first of all, not that many. I'd say if you look at the major emerging markets right now, parts of South America like Brazil, certainly parts of Africa like Nigeria, and then absolutely Southeast Asia. But if you look at those, you will see valuations up in the billions. You will see pre-IPO valuations in the billions, because these companies have raised billions of dollars. It's always been historically,
and it's fertile ground, right? People look at these markets. I mean, we always say emerging, we take it for granted, but these markets are going to explode, and you guys are already exploding there. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt there, but I want to kind of interject with that.
You're entirely correct. But we've been operating in Southeast Asia for 6 years now, so it's nothing new for us. What we're seeing that is new are the prevalence of companies from that region that are either slated to IPO here or that are going into SPACs. And last year there were 4. The year before that there were none. I think this year we'll probably see by the end of the year about 20. And again, you'll see these by bulge bracket investment banks. You'll see big SPACs. So you won't find a lot of smaller ones. Now, what makes that exciting? Well, the smaller ones, in order to fairly compete, have to find a niche of business that is different from the major players there, or they have to have local relationships that you just can't buy your way into. I would say that we obviously fit those two criteria very well. We have structured relationships with governmental organizations that give us a high barrier to entry. We're also operating niche businesses that we just took a different approach to. So instead of focusing on the major cities, we went to the rural areas and some of the second and third tier cities, which now you're starting to see the majors come down the funnel to. We intend to do that in several other countries, notably Vietnam as another one. And we also announced a foray into Nigeria last year. So
and you become a great emerging markets play at that point, right? Like you can market that story.
That's
which, by
right.
the way, the name of that company you're planning to change to GoLogiq.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that becomes its own standalone regional area play, right? At the same time, which is where the unlocking of value I think really comes into play here for all Logiq shareholders.
That's correct. And just as an update, and we will be talking more about this, but literally this past week, we filed our application with the OTC QB market as a start. And interestingly, we've had a couple of investment banks up here in New York approach us for the potential of either an uplisting or a direct IPO later in the year. So it's off to.
I wish you could see my screen. Here's my exact question. Lovara / GoLogiq, is Lovara, for those of you who don't know yet, is the name of the company that Logiq has taken over and will be putting AppLogiq into. And I have right here, is there a plan for uplisting? Because right now, technically, Lovara is a pink sheet company. And I know your plan isn't to go to pink sheet. So can you give us an idea of what, you can't tell us what you're going to do yet, but what would you like to do? Become OTCQX, just like with Logiq? Or do you want to see if you guys can go right up to NASDAQ? Like, what are your aspirations? What are you hoping for there?
Well, there's actually a textbook example that I wouldn't say I'm taking their playbook, but I've been following them for about 7 months now. It's a company that took the same approach. They started as a shell on the pink sheets. It was called iWeb. The ticker symbol is still IWBB. They applied for the OTC market. Simultaneously, they were looking for acquisitions in emerging markets. They found a mobile service provider in Nigeria. They acquired it with stock, and then they just applied to the New York Stock Exchange for an uplisting, and they've also engaged an investment bank. They've got a $5.5 billion market cap right now.
Wow.
Yeah, 5.5 billion. So, and that's not in local Nigerian currency. That's actually in US dollars. So,
and if you see that playbook, though, it makes sense to kind of try and follow the same playbook, right? It means there's demand.
Yeah, absolutely. And the merger candidates we have to add in to the GoLogiq platform are significant. There's some really exciting ones in the investors in those companies now. The strategic partners that they have now are names that institutional investors will absolutely recognize, and probably a lot of retail investors too. I wouldn't say they're household names, but you do a little bit of cursory research, you'll see that none of these are startup investors or startup partners. They are very, very reputable and long operating history. So I think that we'll be able to establish credibility very quickly, and the path to uplisting should happen very quickly as well.
All right. Sounds like there's a real plan there, right? I knew there had to be a plan. I wish I could drill down for more details, but I know you can't provide it. But yeah, clear as day that more is going on there. In the couple of minutes we have left, so now we've got Logiq. So explain to everybody, all the shareholders at home, Logiq is obviously still there. Inside of Logiq is DataLogiq, right?
That's right.
So what's in there and what should shareholders look for? Is the M&A going to be on the AppLogiq side in new GoLogiq, or is it going to be both? You're going to be M&A going on? So you expect more aggressive M&A inside of Logiq this year?
That's correct. That's correct. With Logiq Inc., which underlying is DataLogiq, we're probably just going to change the name just so it's all Logiq within there.
I think so, yeah.
If you look at what that business contributed In 2021, it was about 24 million. We are saying that we will attain 48 million in revenues this year and look at gross margin improvement in the high 30s. But personally, I think it's probably going to be in the low 40s, if not higher, as we ramp up the acquisitions that we had made in the past year and a half, with higher margin profiles on their business lines, and then also add in some accretive acquisitions.
And there's a lot of credibility there because you guys have a good history of under promising and overperforming.
Hope so.
Which I think is great. At least as long as we've been together, that's for sure. Brent, congratulations, man. Hitting it out of the park on the income statement side, on the operations, which is so important. Hitting it out of the park. I love what's going to happen with the spin out here with AppLogiq moving into its own. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that, right? And can't wait to have you back to discuss it all as things kind of unfold here.
Awesome. George, thank you. Pleasure being here.
Can't wait to have you back, Brent. Thanks, my friend. For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Brent Suen, President Executive Chairman of Logiq Inc., trades under LGIQ in both Canada and the US, and probably going to be President Executive Chairman of the new company as well, GoLogiq. But really exciting times. If you just discovered the company, do your due diligence on Agoracom by going to the profile page and then hop over to the company's website to do your deep dive. If you believe in e-commerce in the emerging markets, you've got no better company than Logiq to be your proxy. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day and see you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.